The rain fell in thin, icy sheets across London. Pavements glistened with water, the headlights of buses cut through the mist, and crowds rushed from the office blocks to the underground. Among them was Jack Bennett. He was 27, with tired eyes, messy hair, and the shoulders of a man already defeated by life. Jack worked as a junior accountant for a company that barely noticed him. Every day was the same: wake up in his small flat, cram into the tube, sit for hours staring at spreadsheets, go home exhausted, collapse into bed. This Tuesday evening was no different, except that it would change his life forever. Jack's phone had died at 5 p.m. His umbrella had snapped in the wind, and he had walked through the rain until his suit clung to him like a wet rag. By the time he reached King's Cross, he was shivering. He tapped his Oyster card and dragged himself toward the Victoria line. The tannoy echoed. The train now approaching platform 5 is for Stratford. Relief washed over him. That was his line. He broke into a slow jog, feet splashing through puddles on the platform. The train doors were closing, but Jack darted forward, slipping inside just in time. He leaned against the door, panting. He didn't care which carriage he was in, as long as it took him home. At first, he didn't notice anything strange. But when he opened his eyes and looked around, the hairs on his neck stood up. The carriage was nearly empty. Only a few passengers sat scattered about, and they looked wrong. A woman in a wide Victorian dress sat perfectly straight, her face hidden beneath a black veil. A tall man in a bowler hat was unnaturally still, his skin so pale it looked almost silver. At the far end, a small girl with golden eyes held a birdcage. Inside the cage, instead of a bird, flickered a tiny flame that never went out. Jack blinked. He told himself he was exhausted, that this was just his imagination. But when he rubbed his eyes, the passengers were still there, watching him without moving. The train slowed. The tannoy crackled, arriving at platform 13. Doors will open on the left. Jack frowned. Platform 13? He had used this line for years. There was no platform 13. The doors slid open with a hiss. The strange passengers rose as one and walked out. Jack told himself to stay in the carriage, to ignore it, to just wait until Stratford. But something tugged at him, a strange curiosity. His feet moved before his mind decided. He followed them out. The platform was nothing like the others in London. The tiles were old and cracked, covered in moss. Gas lamps, not electric lights, lined the walls. They hissed softly, filling the air with the smell of burning oil. A large clock hung above, its hands ticking backward. Jack turned in circles, trying to make sense of it. He had stepped into another world. The passengers he had followed moved gracefully along the platform, joined by others who had not been in the train. A man with antlers protruding from his forehead adjusted his coat. A woman with wings like a moth folded them neatly behind her back. A shadow, shaped almost like a man, drifted above the ground without touching it. Jack's chest tightened. He was dreaming. He had to be. Then the Victorian woman turned toward him. Her voice was soft, yet it carried like an echo. "You are not meant to be here, traveler." Jack swallowed. I took the wrong train." "No train brought you here," said the silver-skinned man, stepping closer. His eyes gleamed like polished metal. "The platform chooses." Jack shook his head. "Chooses what? What are you talking about?" The small girl with golden eyes tilted her head. "To remind the lost of what they have forgotten." Her flame flickered brighter, and for a moment, Jack thought he saw something inside it, something familiar, like a memory. His skin prickled. He wanted to run, but his legs refused to move. The air hummed with energy, like the station itself was alive. Jack walked further along the platform, unable to stop himself. Every detail was wrong yet fascinating. Posters on the walls advertised events from decades ago. The Great Exhibition, 1851. Another read, Victory Bonds 1917. He touched one, and the paper crumbled to dust under his fingers. He turned back toward the clock. It now read 10:07, but the hands ticked backward to 10:06. The Victorian woman raised her veil. Her eyes shimmered like pools of water. "This place is not for the living, nor for the dead. It is for those who are lost between." Jack's breath caught. "I'm not lost." I know who I am. But the words died. Did he really know? He thought of his job, his gray office, the endless days of numbers and silence. He thought of his flat, cold and lonely. He thought of his dreams, the ones he had buried. Once, he had wanted to be an artist. As a boy, he had painted dragons, castles, and forests. His mother had encouraged him, but life had pushed him into accounting instead. It was safer. It paid bills. The golden-eyed child spoke again. See. The flame in her cage grew. Jack gasped as images filled his mind, himself as a child, laughing with paint-stained fingers, showing his mother a picture of a castle in the clouds. The memory was so vivid it hurt. He staggered. That's not important anymore. But his voice shook. The silver-skinned man leaned close. You walk through life asleep. Numbers, papers, silence. Is that living, Jack Bennett? Jack's chest tightened. How do you know my name? The platform knows, whispered the shadow figure. Its voice was a cold wind. Jack looked toward the tracks. Mist rose in pale tendrils, curling around his legs. He felt the platform pulling at him, urging him to remember. The Victorian woman said, "This place exists to awaken the forgotten. To show you what you abandoned. To give you a choice." Jack's eyes filled with tears. He remembered sketching late into the night, dreaming of art school. He remembered his father saying, "Artists don't make money. Do something practical." He remembered folding up his drawings and hiding them away, never touching a brush again. He whispered, "I wanted to paint." The golden-eyed child smiled sadly. Then why did you stop? Jack had no answer. At the far end of the platform, an archway began to glow. Golden light spilled out, carrying faint music and laughter. Beyond it, Jack glimpsed trees swaying in sunlight, colors brighter than any he had ever seen. The Victorian woman gestured toward it. One path leads forward, the other backward. Behind him, the train doors were still open, waiting. Inside, the carriage was sterile, fluorescent lit, empty. The life he knew. Ahead, the archway pulsed with life, freedom, magic. Jack's heart pounded. If I go through, what happens? The silver man tilted his head. You live. And if I stay? The woman's eyes darkened. You return to your gray routine. Nothing will change. Until the day you die, wondering what you missed. Jack looked at the archway again. He thought of his younger self, his mother's smile, the thrill of creating something from nothing. He thought of how tired he had been every day, how hollow. For the first time in years, he felt awake. The train beeped its final warning. The archway glowed brighter. Jack took a deep breath and stepped forward. At the far end of the platform, an archway began to glow. Golden light spilled out, carrying faint music and laughter. Beyond it, Jack glimpsed trees swaying in sunlight, colors brighter than any he had ever seen. The Victorian woman gestured toward it. One path leads forward, the other backward. Behind him, the train doors were still open, waiting. Inside, the carriage was sterile, fluorescent lit, empty. The life he knew. Ahead, the archway pulsed with life, freedom, magic. Jack's heart pounded. If I go through, what happens? The silver man tilted his head. You live. And if I stay? The woman's eyes darkened. You return to your gray routine. Nothing will change. Until the day you die, wondering what you missed. Jack looked at the archway again. He thought of his younger self, his mother's smile, the thrill of creating something from nothing. He thought of how tired he had been every day, how hollow. For the first time in years, he felt awake. The train beeped its final warning. The archway glowed brighter. Jack took a deep breath and stepped forward. The train doors closed with a hiss. It rolled away down the tunnel, carrying no passengers. The platform grew silent. The gas lamps flickered. The clock ticked backward, resetting to 10:06. The golden-eyed child watched the archway fade. Another one has chosen. The Victorian woman lowered her veil. The lost always find their way here. The mist thickened, curling across the tracks like a living thing. The platform waited, patient, timeless. Somewhere in London, another tired soul would soon take the wrong train. And platform 13 would choose again.